Welcome back to our channel. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lara.
And this is our reaction to
10 kids who remember their past lives.
Now, but before we get to this video, please make sure
smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your notification bell.
Now let's get to the video.
If your kids started talking about their past life, would you believe them? What if they claimed to have lived somewhere else with a totally different family? Well, according to Dr. Jim Tucker, you should. He's a professor of psychiatry and neurobehavioral sciences at the University of Virginia. He says sometimes kids between the ages of 2 and 6 remember a past life. Today we're going to look at some mind-blowingly real instances of this happening. I'm Charlie, and today we're going to look at kids who remembered their past lives. Before we get into it, why not subscribe and press the notification bell?
What are you doing?
James Leyinger.
Oh, no, I remember this and that.
James was born in 1998, but in 2000, when James was 2, he remembered his past life. He said he was a lieutenant in the Second World War, and apparently he passed away when his plane was shot down. The San Francisco kid also said his past name was James Leyinger. Now, you may be thinking, kids can just say anything and make up whatever they want. Why believe him? Well, that's exactly what his parents thought at first. It's just their kid's wild imagination. But he would not stop going on about it, so eventually they did some research. They looked into it and found there was a lieutenant pilot with that same name. Amazingly, the American pilot also was in World War II and their plane crashed. He passed away in 1945. James also said that on his past life he was on a ship named the Natoma. Unbelievably, this was a real-life American ship. He also had reoccurring nightmares about an airplane crash. Eventually his parents were fully convinced, and they went to meet Lieutenant James's crew. Remarkably, everything James mentioned, the crew confirmed. Many of the details only Lieutenant James and his crew could have known. So there's clearly something not quite normal with James.
Wow.
Barska Kiprianovich.
So what do you do
Barska is from Volgograd, Russia, and even before he recalled his past life, he was already a remarkable kid. He has a genius IQ level, and he also has an outstanding knowledge of the planetary systems. When this was revealed, it baffled experts and scientists around the world. Barska's mother and doctor said they knew he was special 2 weeks after he was born. That's because at 2 weeks old, he was able to hold his head up without any support.
Oh, wow.
A few months later, he began to speak, and by the age of 1, he could read, draw, and paint. But what's most amazing is he says he remembers a past life. He claims to have been born on Mars, and Mars is his #1 interest. Barska said that Mars once had a civilization, but a massive nuclear space catastrophe caused them to be wiped off the planet. He also says that's why Mars is so hot to this day. Now, this sounds totally made up, but he's not just some silly kid making things up. Remember, he has a genius IQ, and without any schooling, he already had an amazing knowledge of the planetary system. He is said to have gained all of this knowledge in his past life. He also said there's a lot to be discovered on Earth that we don't know about. He said the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt is hiding big secrets. Barska said the civilization was able to live on Mars by breathing carbon dioxide. Cameron Macaulay. Cameron is a small boy from Glasgow, Scotland. But when he was 2 years old, he said he had a past life on a small island named Barra. His parents had never heard of it, let alone been there. But after they looked it up, they found out it was an hour's flight away from Glasgow, 220 miles away. At first, they ignored Cameron, but for 3 years he kept going on about it like he was obsessed. He said he had a past family with brothers on the island. He also said he remembered having a sister and a black and white sheepdog. He also said he remembered living in a house painted white on the beach with planes landing nearby. He also described in great detail the view from his bedroom window. Cameron said he missed his family so much he would get super upset. Eventually, this became unbearable for his parents, so they decided to fly him to the island. They were hoping they could show him it was all in his head and he was simply imagining this family. But when they landed on the island of Barra, they were stunned. Amazingly, it had the exact same view that Cameron described. They even found Cameron's black and white sheepdog. Cameron said he had a father named Shane Robertson who passed away in a car incident. They asked around on the island, but sadly no one knew of a Shane Robertson. Maybe it's because his past life was just too long ago and he's been forgotten about.
Yeah, probably.
Edward Austrian. When this boy was only 4 years old, he said that he remembered a past life as a soldier from World War I. The British boy said that in his past life, he passed on in World War I. This was after he was struck in the neck by a projectile. Edward often had a sore throat, and he would say that his wound was hurting. His parents took him to the doctors about this, but they couldn't explain why it was happening. And he wasn't just making it up. Eventually a cyst did develop in his throat. Edward said that in his past life, he was a soldier named James who was 18 years old. He would often share his stories from the battlefield. He said one day he remembers him and his crew walking through the mud and it was cold and damp. He says he remembers hearing shots and that he was carrying a very heavy rifle. Now remember, he said all of this when he was just 4 years old. And his parents said they never let him watch any war documentaries or anything that would give him these memories.
Yeah.
Ryan the Star. When Ryan was only 5 years old, he told his mother, Cindy, that he remembers being someone else. He said he had vivid memories of being a successful Hollywood star in the 30s and 40s. After researching old Hollywood, Ryan pointed to a photo of a man and said that was him. The man in the photo was named Marty Martin. Ryan correctly identified 50 things about Marty's life. In a book, it said that Marty passed away when he was 59. But Ryan correctly said that Marty was actually 61 when he passed away. Ryan is now 10 years old and his story is still amazing to this day. Ryan is from Oklahoma, but he has vivid memories of what Hollywood looks like. He also correctly said that Marty passed on in 1964. Ryan says that he misses Broadway productions and dancing. Ryan also says he remembers living on a street with Rock in its name. Amazingly, Marty Martin lived at 825 North Roxbury Drive. Shanti Devi.
That is crazy.
Shanti Devi was born in 1926 in India. But when she was 4 years old, she began making claims about having a past life. She said that she had a totally different name and another family in her past life. She said she used to live in Mathura, which was 145 kilometers away from her home. She also said she had a husband named Kedaranath. Apparently, she passed on after giving birth to her child. The weird thing is, she had the same accent as someone from Mathura. Eventually, she was taken there and she identified a man that she said was her husband. This guy was also called Kedaranath. He actually confirmed that he did in fact lose his wife 10 days after she delivered their son.
Wow.
Now, he was actually skeptical that this little girl was his wife. So that's why when he went to meet her, he pretended to be his brother. But Shanti was having none of it and said, "No, you were my husband." Kendra Carter.
Yeah, you can't do nothing about
When
it.
Kendra Carter was 4 years old, she decided to get swimming lessons. But after a few days, Kendra began getting very attached to her swim coach. She told her mother that the coach's baby had passed away, and Kendra said that the baby was actually her. She said, quote, "I'm the baby that was in my swim teacher's tummy." The mother was very confused, so she asked the swim teacher. The swim teacher said, "Yes, I did have a baby that passed on inside me." But this was 9 years before Kendra was even born. Kendra loved spending time with her swim teacher, and she was totally convinced that the swim teacher was her mother from a past life. Eventually, Kendra's mom and the swim coach got into an argument. Kendra's mom told Kendra she couldn't go and have swimming lessons anymore, but this caused Kendra to get very upset and she barely spoke for 4 months. Eventually, Kendra's mom allowed Kendra to see the swim coach and Kendra went back to her normal self. Suzanne Garneem.
That's a tough situation.
In the 1930s, a woman named Hanan Juan Serra passed on. This was after giving birth to her 3rd child. But before she passed on, she had some amazing final words for her husband. She said she would be reincarnated and would remember their life together. Her husband shrugged it off, thinking it was simply a coping mechanism. But 10 days after Hanan passed on, a girl named Suzanne was born. When Suzanne was 2 years old, she would pick up a phone and say, "Hello, Layla." Amazingly, one of Hanan's daughters was named Layla. Also, before she passed on, she tried to call Layla but couldn't reach her. When she was older, she recalled memories of 13 people from her past life. The two families ended up meeting and they remained in contact for the rest of their lives.
That is crazy.
The Russian kindergartner. Normally, when a kid remembers their past life, it's from nearby. But in this case, it definitely was not. When one mother was teaching her American daughter the alphabet, the daughter was having a very hard time. She kept mixing up her letters, which is pretty normal for young kids. But the weird thing is which letters she would mix up. She would mix up her B's with V's. And she would also mix up H's and N's, which don't really look much alike. She also kept saying, "I don't remember these letters." This really confused her mother and her teacher. The girl then said she remembers the letter H, but that it made an N sound. Her mother then said, "Write out the letters that you do know." And that's when she began writing many letters in Cyrillic. This is the alphabet used in countries like Russia and Ukraine. Her mom said, "Where did you learn this?" And she said, "Vlad taught me." The girl said Vlad was her brother in her past life in Russia. But now it's time to make your voice heard. Comment below which was the creepiest kid who remembered their past life. If you want some more amazing videos, then check out my second channel. But as always, thank you for
I don't even
watching.
know
Leave a
what to
like
do
if you
with, like,
enjoyed.
parents
But as
and
always,
things
thank
like
you for
that.
watching. There are some more videos
Either
on screen
you
right now.
know
Leave a
more
like
about
if you
it, or
enjoyed, and if you haven't
check it
already,
out.
what are you
You
waiting
definitely
for?
gotta know more
Subscribe to
about
Top
it, 'cause it's
10s.
it's too vivid.
It's too much to think.
Comment down below what was the most interesting part of this video. Who had the most interesting story. And please always,
Smash the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your notification bell.
and like always, thank you guys for always tuning in. Peace.